Alright, so good, a blessed day to each and everyone. So, for those who don't know me yet, I would like to introduce myself. I am Robinson Roa, and I'll be the first presenter for the academic performance. Okay, so I hope you would bear with me. Okay, so my topic is all about the salient features of English literature. Okay, so but before that, let's first have an energizer just to elevate ourselves and stimulate our mood in order for us to be prepared along with my discussion. All right. Okay. So I hope you will cooperate and enjoy this one.
I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, awake, alert, alive. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic.
Okay. Very good. So how do you find the activity? So I hope uh, you were relieved and uh, prepared. Okay, so what is English literature? Okay, so do you have any ideas what is English literature? Okay, so if none, I will be the one. Okay, so English literature, okay, is the study of literature written in English language. Okay, so when we talk about English literature, it should be written in English form to be considered as an English literature. Okay, so writers do not necessarily have to be from England, but can be from all over the world. Yes, of course. So it includes some of history's most famous writers: James Joyce from Ireland, William Shakespeare from England, Mark Twain from United States, Arthur Conan Doyle from Scotland, Dylan Thomas from Wales, and Vladimir Nabokov from Russia. Okay, so those famous writers that I mentioned are just some examples, a few examples. Um, but actually, there are lots of famous writers that I did not mention. Okay, next, there are the three major periods of the English literature. Okay, so what are those? Okay, so let's dive in that we may um, learn them. Okay, so we have the Old English literature, the medieval English literature, and modern English or Renaissance period. Okay, so under this, the early modern English and the late modern English. Okay, so let's first talk about the Old English literature. Okay, so in this period, in the ancient times, there were three tribes called the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. Okay, so these are the three tribes in the northern Europe. Okay, so in the 15th century, they conquered Britain. Wow, and settled down there. Yes, of course, because they won the fight, so expected that they will occupy the land. Okay, so they divided the whole island among themselves. Okay, they have their common shares. After they won, uh, okay, so um, the Angles settled down in the East Midland and built the kingdom of East Angles. On the other hand, the Saxons tribe took the southern part of the island and set up some small kingdoms such as the Wexes, the Exes, and the Succas. Okay, while Jutes occupied the southeastern corner of the island. Okay, so gradually there were seven kingdoms arose in Britain. Okay, so because of that, uh, the language spoken by them also is called the Old English. Okay, so which is the foundation of English language and literature. Okay, so mainly the three tribes uh, are the first the first Englishman. Okay, so with the Anglo-Saxon settlement in Britain, the history of English literature began. Okay, so let's proceed to the characteristics of Old English literature. Okay, so we have Anglo-Saxon literature, that is the Old English literature, was almost exclusively a verse literature in oral form. Okay, so it could be passed down from by word of mouth from generation to generation. Okay, so they use make use of blank verse. Okay, so blank verse uh, is is it is used by the tribes. Okay, so during their times, in order to avoid such presence of any end rhyme, which occurs from one line to another line. Okay, so then they make use also of kaisora. Okay, so I I don't know if you are familiar with kaisora. Okay, okay, so kaisora means to take a breath or to take a pause while in the middle of a particular line, and they make use of kennings. Okay, so kennings are meant to be a metaphorical nature which was used uh, to describe any figurative language, and also they use alliteration, a poetic device. Okay, so the, there are two groups of poetry in the Anglo-Saxon period. First, the pagan poetry, which is represented by Beowulf, and the religious poetry, represented by the works of Caedmon and Cynewulf. Okay, so if you observe, I have not I haven't presented some example or elaborated some examples because those things will be discussed by the next presenter. Okay, so also they have also prose during the Anglo-Saxon. Okay, so let's proceed to the medieval English literature. Okay, so particularly the Anglo-Norman literature. Okay, so the Norman during the Norman conquest. Okay, so let's have a short um, flashback. Okay, so the Normans was originally a hardy race of sea rovers living in Scandinavia. Okay, so the Normans conquered a part of northern France, which has been called Normandy, and settled down there. Okay, so they adopted French as their language and embraced Christianity. Okay, so um, the Duke of Normandy, William the Great, was an able military leader and statesman. Okay, so in the year 1066, William led the Norman army to attack England. Okay, so the two armies met and fought at Hastings. Okay, so finally the English army was defeated. William and his men marched speedily into London, and William became the king of England. Okay, so after the conquest, feudal system was established in English society. Okay, so because of that, a new king ruled England, William the Conqueror, with a high hand. The feudal social structure in England was just like the pyramid in Egypt. Okay, so during the reign of William the Conqueror, okay, so the social structure was like the pyramid in Egypt. The this status of life were divided. Okay, there were high class, middle class, and lower class. Okay, so that what happened during the reign of William the Conqueror, which became a new king who ruled in England. Okay, so okay, so during the social, during the feudal, um, the peasants who had become serfs. Okay, so serfs are an agricultural laborers. Okay, so they're under the feudal system. Okay, they have no freedom, but they toiled um, all all the year round for the feudal landlords. Okay, so let's continue. So we are we stop as the social conditions in the feudal England. So okay, so the church and the court teamed up. Okay, they um, joined with each other and to oppress. Okay, to oppress and govern the people. Okay, so those who dared to speak out against the feudal order would face the death penalty. Okay, so um, if you could imagine, okay, so the government uh, were so cruel. Okay, so what else? The English people's misery was made worse by ongoing battles with other countries and diseases. Okay, so people are subjected to high taxes by the government. Okay, so imagine um, the social conditions in the feudal England. Okay, so we could imagine that the civilian or the people, the citizens, were oppressed. They have had no freedom, and they can't fight for themselves because of the cruelty um, of the government. Okay, so next, the following are some of its most important characteristics. Okay, so it bears no resemblance to truth or reality in general. Second, it exaggerates human nature's vices while idealizing its virtues. Third, it includes risky adventures that are somewhat removed from everyday life. Fourth, it emphasizes complete commitment to a lovely person. And lastly, denied a nobleman adept in the use of weapons who is frequently characterized as riding forth to pursue justice is the principal figure of the Romans. Okay, so if you would try to go back, okay, so during the medieval period, um, um, religions or churches were established or existed, um, mainly the Christianity and the Islam. Okay, so so about the characteristics. Okay, so mostly they were they are fan of using. Okay, so I mean the knight or the warriors like such as knight were used. Okay, were became popular. I mean, okay, during the Anglo-Norman period or the medieval period. Okay, so next and finally we are uh, in the modern English literature. Okay, so under with this, as I said before, the early modern English during 1500 to 1800, and for the late modern English 1800 until now. Okay, so during the early modern English, okay, so during the early modern English, okay, so print printing was discovered. Okay, so books became more affordable, and because of that, more people learned to read as a result. So English became more standardized as a result of printing. Okay, so in this period, okay, so we have now the invention of printer, and that is why uh, people in this period uh, were became more um, open. They were the learning is very um, given. Okay, so learning is given because they have the printer. Okay, so they were able to they they are were able they are able now to print documents, any written text which could be utilized by the people in order for them to learn to read, to write, and etc. Okay, so the publishing houses became the standard for spelling and grammar. And then the first English dictionary was published in 1604. Wow. So because of that, okay, so because of the discovery of printing, okay, so uh, the during the early modern English, uh, they had published the first dictionary. Okay, so while the late modern English, okay, so there are many. Okay, so the difference between the um, early and late modern English. Okay, so this could be the there. Okay, there are many words. There are many more words in late modern English compared to the early modern English. Okay, so English language was influenced by the French language. English language incorporated vocabulary from many different countries. Okay, so uh, that is all about the salient feature of English literature. I hope you were able to um, and you were able to gather some important or pertinent information about the topic or about the academic presentation. So before we conclude this session, so allow me to instill in your minds the famous line by Marilyn Butler, who said, English literature is a kind of training in social ethics. English trains you to handle a body of information in a way that is conducive to action. We have the references. So thank you everyone and have a nice day.